Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to the Texturism series. So I recently did a poll and you guys voted and said that hair textures 3C and above benefit from texturism. And I think that there are actually multiple ways that a person can benefit from texturism. So the first way is based on the actual size of your curl. So I would say in that case, yes, 3C and above, because that's considered quote unquote loose curls, type 3C and above would be benefiting from texturism in the sense that their actual curl size is larger. So their hair kind of hangs down. Another way that I've noticed women benefit from texturism is if your hair grows in a downward motion versus growing in an upward motion, kind of like a tree or something like that. So that's something else I noticed because your hair naturally looks more slick. It's easier to slick down. This is why people will say, oh, your hair is manageable. When they say your hair is manageable, I've noticed that generally speaking, what they mean is it's easy to do multiple styles, or like it's easier to slick down, or it's easier to comb through because the actual curl pattern is looser. But one of the other ways that I've noticed that women benefit from texturism, even if they're in the type 4 range, is the actual texture of their hair strands. So women who have a silky texture, even if they have tight curls, if they have a silky hair texture versus a cotton hair texture, I've noticed that they will still benefit from texturism. So an example of women with that type of hair would be like a lot of Ethiopian women. So they may have like 4A and 4B curls, but the actual shine of their hair is much more noticeable. I've noticed that's something that a lot of unambiguous Black women envy, is the shine of your natural hair. Like if you have that super shiny hair versus a cotton hair texture, a lot of them will never admit this, but that's okay because we're going to talk about it over here. So I think that those are some of the ways that women benefit from texturism. So there's more than one way to benefit. I do not think that it's solely based on the actual curl size and curl pattern, because let's be honest, most women rarely wear their natural curl patterns anyway. A lot of women, no matter what their hair texture is, a lot of women manipulate their curl pattern in some way. It could be something as simple as pineappling. That is technically a form of manipulation. I've done pineappling before. So it kind of naturally stretches your curls, so that's technically a slight form of manipulation. And I've noticed that some of the natural hair Nazis, they'll be like, well, your natural hair pattern is how it looks with no products in it. And like, once you let it air dry, okay, well, nobody's doing that and wearing it like that in public, not even white women. They're not just washing their hair, not putting any conditioner whatsoever, not putting any product, no moisturizer, and walking outside in the public. So the privilege conversation, it's based on sociology, okay? It's based on social constructs. So when we are talking about texturism, colorism, and featureism, we're talking about how you are perceived by others in the public eye. Most women are not going in the public eye without any sort of moisture or, without any manipulation whatsoever. Most women are not doing that in the public eye. So I feel like that's kind of a moot point. Like, oh, that's not even her real texture because she put leave-in conditioner in it. Well, yeah, that's the norm and that's the standard. So we like to speak based on reality here, not based on women trying to invalidate others' hair textures because it has product in it. Okay, well, if you put product in your hair and it's a type 2, then society will perceive you as having type 2 hair. It's very simple. But one of the things that I've noticed about some women who have 4C hair is they're afraid to change or manipulate their hair texture. And I'm talking about unambiguous mono dark-skinned Black women. They're afraid of manipulating their hair texture because they're scared of being called texturist. They're scared of being called anti-Black. They're scared of being called self-hating. I've noticed that's one of the biggest fears of Black women, is for you to call her self-hating. That's one of her biggest fears. That's like fighting words to a Black woman. So they're so scared of being called self-hating to the point where they won't even change their 4C hair. They'll just kind of suffer, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that it's suffering to have 4C hair, but this is what they are saying themselves. They're announcing it on TikTok. They're announcing, I hate my 4C hair. So it's like, okay, if she hates her 4C hair, and she's not doing anything to change it, all she's doing is literally coming online talking about how much she hates it. So I've noticed a lot of them, they will, they put these limitations on themselves. They have limiting beliefs, basically. They believe that you can only be pro-Black and you can only love your blackness if you wear your hair in its natural shrunken state, with the 4C thing. So it's very similar to the women who believe that you're not pretty if part of your beauty comes from makeup. Those women that say, oh, well, she's not even that pretty. She's wearing makeup. She's not even that cute. She got a boob job. She's not even that pretty. Like those types of women, those women have limiting beliefs about beauty. They have limiting beliefs about their own beauty. And so what they'll try to do is project those limiting beliefs onto you. And they'll say things like, well, you're not as pretty because you're wearing makeup. So they'll say that basically you're not as beautiful. So I've noticed the same pattern with some unambiguous black women who have 4C hair. They're not allowed to relax their hair. They're not allowed to texturize their hair. They're not allowed to do like different hairstyles because that goes against the groupthink of this pro-black community. I feel like a lot of unambiguous black women, the only source of confidence that some of them have is literally just based on pro-blackness. And there's nothing wrong with being confident in your blackness, but we can see through it because if you try to say in one breath that you love your 4C hair and you're so confident, but then the next moment you're complaining on social media about how you hate your 4C hair, well, I don't believe you then. Or if you're telling me that your 4C hair is better than type 3 hair, you're doing this hierarchy thinking and you're trying to compete with women of other hair textures, I feel like that's actually the real reason that a lot of women keep their hair 4C, even though they don't want to. It's because it's actually a humbling tactic against women with type 3 hair. And I know this because I've literally heard some women on their YouTube channels say, oh, I'm never going to change my hair from 4C because I don't want biracial women to think that I want to look like them. So I'm never going to wear a lace front. I'm never wearing wigs. I'm never straightening my hair. I'm never doing a silk press because I don't want a woman with type 3 hair to walk past me and then think to herself that she's superior. So they're literally basing their entire hair care regimen on the opinions of some invisible women with type 3 hair that don't even care. And some of these women are literally just wearing their hair in a way that they don't even like because they're just trying to prove to others that they're confident. They feel like that's the only way that they can prove confidence is by wearing their hair natural. And I feel like part of this is cultural because a lot of women in the black community struggle with good girl syndrome. A lot of women in the black community have been very male-centered around almost like these red pill black men. The red pill black men that say, well, you're not a 10, you're a 6 because you're wearing makeup. Oh, you're ugly because you're wearing weave. Those guys that try to gaslight you? So the black women who are male-centered around those types of guys, I notice they will give those same red pill style talking points to other women. And so it's almost as if some of these women, they're trying to, I guess, work with their 4C hair not because they actually want to, basically. It's because they just want to try to compete with women who have type 3 hair who are wearing their hair natural. It's almost like they're trying to prove to themselves, I can be beautiful and effortless as well. And there would be nothing wrong with that if that was actually an internal locus of control. But for a lot of these women, it's not, because I've literally heard some of them say that the only reason they're wearing their hair 4C in its shrunken state is because they don't want to basically pump up the egos of women who have type 3 hair. Meanwhile, in real life, I'm not walking around looking at women with 4C hair, or I don't even halfway know the difference between 4A, B, and C. So I don't really even pay attention that much. But like I said, a lot of these women, they're so externally focused, they're spending their time thinking, what do mixed women think of me? What do type 3 women think of me? Oh, she's wearing her hair in a curly bun, and my hair is in an afro. Does she think she's better than me? Does she think she's superior to me? So that's all an external focus. And so this is why I think that some of the 4C women are actually being disingenuous, and some of them simply do not like their 4C hair, but they're just tormenting themselves and like wearing it in a style that they don't even like, or like they don't have the skills to take care of it for whatever reason, or they simply don't want to take care of it. By the way, I don't care what people do with their hair. There's nothing wrong with changing certain aspects of yourself if that's what you would like to do, as long as you are not racist against women who have those hair textures. I don't care about 4C women who get relaxers. I don't care about 4C hair women who get perms and stuff. All I care about is, what are you saying about women with type 3 hair? What do you say about women with type 2 hair? And so that's the thing. Like, if you're going to change yourself, do not talk shit about women who were born that way. Like, if you're going to wear a wavy hair texture, as long as you're not talking shit about Dominican women or whatever, women with wavy hair, then I don't care. It's only the women that are talking shit while simultaneously trying to look like those women. That's what I have a problem with. I have a problem with the extreme hypocrisy because it really does come off as jealousy. Jealousy is when a woman is bashing you to your face, but then behind closed doors, she's trying to look like you. That is jealousy. She wants to wear your skin. She wants to wear your hair texture, but then she resents you for being born with that skin or being born with that hair texture. So that's the part that I have a problem with. But I have noticed, though, a lot of women who have 4C hair, some of them don't have the courage to admit to themselves that they want a different hairstyle. So they're not allowing themselves to express their femininity in any other way other than wearing 4C hair. So this is why I say that a lot of the natural hair movement is really just hoteps. And they feel like you must be the most Afrocentric version of yourself possible. Otherwise, you hate yourself and you are not really down with Black women. And so you've got the natural 4C girls who are shaming the girls who are Tex-Lax, and then they're shaming the girls who are relaxed, and then they're shaming the girls who wear the lace fronts or whatever, and then they're basically saying that it's automatically a form of self-hate. But they don't understand the nuances of self-hatred, okay? There's technically no way to really prove that someone is self-hating unless, of course, that person is bashing women who have looser hair textures while trying to get those hair textures, or if they say, I hate my 4C hair. Okay, yeah, then you can make that argument. But I've noticed that some unambiguous Black women, they're so concerned with what people think of them. So they're just spending their lives trying to prove their confidence, trying to prove that they think they're beautiful. And it's like, sis, you don't have to try to convince me that you think you're beautiful. That's your journey. That's your life. That's none of my business, whether or not you think you're beautiful with your 4C hair. That's actually not my business. In fact, they'll even tell you, stay out of Black women's business, stay out of Black women's hair. So they'll tell you to stay out of their business and stay out of their hair, but then if you have type 3 hair, they're obsessed with yours. And then they want to tell you, well, your hair is not even really 3C. Well, your hair is not even really 3B. Well, your hair looks nappy. Well, your hair looks coarse. Your hair looks frizzy. Like nitpicking other women's hair textures, especially type 3 women, and then they'll be trying to invalidate type 3 women's hair. It's very similar to when people say, well, you're not really light-skinned or you're not that light-skinned. So it's hierarchy thinking. So their mindset is, how dare you act like you have type 3 hair? You don't have type 3 hair. Your hair is a 4A. Your hair is a 4B. So there's this obsession with comparing and contrasting all of the different levels of tight hair textures. And then they'll be like, well, your hair is manipulated. Well, you put leave-in conditioner on it. Well, your hair is wet, so it looks looser because the moisture is weighing down your hair. So you're over here clocking and measuring another woman's moisture levels in her hair, yet you want to try to convince me that somehow you are not insecure. I have never in my life tried to measure another woman's moisture levels in her hair. I've never even paid that much attention to another woman's hair. So, I mean, that's pure projection. And also, the way that you wear your hair in society determines the privilege you will receive. Hence why unambiguous Black women are the main ones wearing lace fronts and bust downs. It's so they can benefit from texturism. That's why they want their lace fronts to look real. It's so they can have real hair texture privilege. And the privilege for them in a lot of cases is getting attention from white men, getting attention from Black men. You know, it's usually male-centered from what I've heard them say on their YouTube channels. And I've noticed that a lot of unambiguous Black women and men, they have this mindset of, if you don't just roll out of bed and like walk out in public like that, then you don't love your features. And they will try to actually project that onto mixed people because, like I said, they'll use the talking point of, well, she's wearing makeup. Well, she put conditioner in her hair. Her hair's not even that loose. Her hair's not even type 3. So that's all pure projection. And I don't care if 4C women wear looser hair textures as long as you admit that you believe loose hair textures are beautiful. That's the only thing that I care about with my texturism talking points. That's the only thing I want unambiguous Black women to admit. I want you to just admit that you think type 3 hair is beautiful. Just admit it. That's not a big deal. Like, I have no problem saying, hey, blonde hair is gorgeous. Brown hair is gorgeous. Type 2 hair is gorgeous. Type 1 Asian hair is gorgeous. Indian hair is gorgeous. Women with type 4 hair are gorgeous. I have no problem admitting that other hair textures other than mine are beautiful. So, why is it that unambiguous mono black women who have 4C hair are the only ones who suddenly want to lie and say that, oh, 4C hair is the best hair, or like we need to reverse the hair chart and make 4C hair into 1A hair because, 4C is A1. Like, this is inferiority complex because you're trying to create a hierarchy with 4C hair at the top when all you had to do was simply admit, hey, look, I think that all the different hair textures are beautiful. I think type 3 hair is beautiful, and that's why I wear wigs that are type 3. And another thing I've noticed that some women with 4C hair don't want to admit is when they find another hairstyle or texture to look better than theirs. That's another thing because, that word better, you cannot say the B word around black women. How dare you use that word better? So and so looks better. Such and such hair texture is better. You can't use that because they already struggle very deeply with an inferiority complex. So now they can't admit to themselves, hey, you know what? I like it better when my hair has little highlights, because it looks very summery and like it goes well with my complexion. I like the caramel hair highlights, but I like the caramel hair highlights. No, they can't admit that to themselves because they can't use the B word, better. I like it better when my hair looks looser, or I like it better when my hair has red highlights in it, or whatever it is. They can't say that because they think that by admitting that to themselves that they are calling themselves inferior inherently. And this all comes from a lack of knowledge and a lack of education around psychology and sociology. Every beauty enhancement is supposed to make you look better. And by the way, I'm in the middle of editing this right now, but saying to yourself that you think one hairstyle looks better on you than another, that's not hierarchy thinking because you're comparing yourself to yourself. Hierarchy thinking is more so like when you compare yourself to others or you compare black women to white women. So simply saying, hey, I like my hair better when it's burgundy in the fall because it makes me feel more festive. That is not hierarchy thinking. That's not, you don't have to worry, sis. It doesn't mean that you're an insecure person because you like your hair burgundy in the fall or because you think that straight hair is just as beautiful as 4C hair. Hence why it's called an enhancement. Enhancement means you're enhancing what's already there. You're making it look better. Maybe you're making the color look better. And when they use that term better, like it's a beauty enhancement, what they're saying is you're supposed to look better according to yourself. It's not supposed to be according to society, according to white people, according to black people. So like I said, because a lot of black women have that external locus of control, they think that they are basically betraying themselves or somehow betraying their blackness or betraying their type 4 hair texture by wanting to wear it in a different style. So they don't understand the nuances of femininity. This really does go back to a lack of feminine privilege because they don't understand that femininity is not a monolith. Blackness and your hair does not have to be a monolith. You don't have to constantly wear it in a 4C hair texture all the time in order to prove somehow that you're confident. Like, who are you trying to prove yourself to? That's my question. To unambiguous black women who have the 4C hair texture, who feel like you're not allowed to wear it in any other texture other than 4C, who are you trying to prove yourself to? Because you're not fooling anyone. The fact that you are even trying to prove yourself to women with type 3 hair shows me that you're insecure. That you already failed right there. Like, you already showed me that you're insecure because you feel the need to prove yourself to random invisible exoticals who live in your head. You're trying to prove yourself to random invisible black men in your head. You're trying to prove yourself to random invisible other fellow black women who live in your head. So that is really the insecurity. That's the insecurity, sis. So you wearing your natural 4C hair actually means nothing if you're only doing it to try to prove something to others. Now, if you're wearing your natural 4C hair because that meets your internalized beauty standard, then that's fine. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the women who are only wearing their natural 4C hair because they want to prove something to somebody else. Like, they want to prove that they can wear it natural, or they want to prove that they don't want to look like a woman with type 3 hair. And then one of the talking points that I hear from the Hotep black women is, you need to stop messing with your hair. Like, stop manipulating your hair. That means that you hate yourself if you do any manipulation at all. And so this goes back to that whole talking point of you're not allowed to change. You know how in the black community they'll say you changed, like you're a sellout basically. So they're trying to actually give that talking point when it comes to hair. You're a sellout if you dye your 4C hair a different color. You're trying to be white. You hate yourself. You think you're light skinned. You think you have type 3 hair. You don't have that. You have a texturizer. Okay, but if her texturizer looks natural or looks real or whatever, then when she goes out in society, she will benefit from texturism. If a person is going to give you a hair texture benefit or like compliments on your hair, they're not going to ask, is your hair texturized? They're not going to ask that unless they're a black woman, for the most part. The only people that I've ever seen ask questions like that are just black women. And the only black women who would ask that are women who are comparing themselves to you. That's the only reason that another woman would ask about your beauty or if it's natural. Either she is comparing herself to you or she wants to copy you. Those are the only two reasons why any other woman would ask about what your personal beauty routine is. Those are the only two reasons. Either she wants to copy your beauty or she wants to compare her natural beauty to your natural beauty. So she's sizing you up. Another talking point I have is that there are many different sources of micro-validation that a woman can have. So for example, every woman has different areas where she is insecure. Okay, so there's no such thing as a woman who's perfectly confident in every area. So there are some women who have 4C hair and they don't feel as confident in their, with their natural 4C hair in its shrunken state. That's okay. That's actually not the part that I have a problem with. But what I don't like from the 4C hair community in particular is this groupthink mentality where it's like every woman who has type 4 hair must wear her hair in XYZ hairstyle. Otherwise, she is automatically self-hating or, it's almost like they will reject innovative hairstylists, really. Because I guess the way that I see my hair is just an extension of myself. It's something that I can manipulate as much as I want because that's just an expression of my femininity. I view my hair as an accessory, whereas a lot of 4C women view their hair as their identity. So they feel like if they're changing their hair, they change their identity. That's why they can't change it. Because they're like, oh no, that's a betrayal to my blackness. That is my identity. They have a blackness-centered identity. They have a 4C-centered identity. That's why they're not allowed to perm their hair. They're not allowed to color their hair. They're not allowed to put micro links or weave or whatever in their hair because their identity is centered around that. Anything that you cannot change about yourself, anything that you don't allow yourself to change, it means your identity is centered around that thing. So it's not necessarily bad. Like, that's fine if you want to define yourself based on having 4C hair. But for me personally, when it comes to my hair or like anything about my physical body, I feel like my body is just more of a canvas. So my hair is a part of that. So if I want to change my hair color, no, I don't feel like I'm cosplaying. You know how some people say, well, you're trying to cosplay as someone mixed. You're trying to cosplay as a white woman. When I put a blonde wig on or a wig that has blonde highlights, I personally don't feel like I'm cosplaying. I'm still the same exact person. My facial features are still the same. My complexion is still the same. My eyes, everything is still the same. But for some women who have that 4C centered identity, these are the natural hair Nazis. They center their identity around having natural hair. And isn't it ironic that they will center their identity around having their hair texture, but you, as a woman with type 3 hair, you can't do the same thing because that makes you a texturist. So if you define your identity based on having type 3 hair and you call yourself curly girl or, like a nickname on YouTube like curly light skin or something, I don't know, then suddenly you're a colorist and texturist. Meanwhile, 4C women are some of the most self-identified, they're some of the most type 4 centered women that I've ever encountered in my life. And it's another form of hotepery and pro-blackness. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But I just feel like a part of being an adult is allowing other adult women to make their own decisions. So I see some women where they're trying to shame women who get hair color, or they shame women who do these innovative hairstyles. Like I saw something where women were like, they were either perming their locks or they were perming the edges around their locks. Something about locks, kind of not wearing it in a freeform locks. And kind of like manipulating it with chemicals. And it's like, okay, just admit that you are anti-chemical, and that's fine. If you don't allow yourself to wear chemicals in your hair, so you can't dye your hair, you can't do that kind of stuff, that's fine. That is your beauty limit that you put on yourself. That is your beauty limitation. That is your beauty boundary. Remember how I talked about beauty boundaries on this channel, I talked about how different women have different levels of changes that they can make to themselves. So for some women, they are anti-plastic surgery, and that's fine. There are other women who are anti-Botox, anti-fillers, they're anti-makeup. So they don't believe in body modifications at all, and that's fine. So if you don't believe in body modifications and you're low maintenance, basically, because that would be low maintenance. It means that you just wake up in the morning, you don't put on any makeup, you don't manipulate your hair, you don't put conditioner or anything in it, because that's not natural, because you haven't leave-in conditioner, So whatever your standards are for yourself, you want me to accept your identity, but then you cannot accept the women who enhance their beauty or they do certain things to tweak their appearance, because it triggers your inferiority complex. It makes you feel like you don't measure up. And so that tells me that you weren't actually being natural because you liked being natural. You were just being natural to try to prove something to society. So that is still a form of external locus of control. Also, have you ever noticed unambiguous women with 4C hair? They will shame you for wearing weaves and maybe a straighter hair texture sometimes. But then these women, they'll be wearing a weave with braids. They're braids, that's weave, that's fake hair. And then they'll say, oh no, well this doesn't count because this is a traditional African hairstyle. Bitch, they do not have straight hair in Africa and then braid their hair with it. You're getting some Asian ass hair and then you're putting it in your hair as braids and you're wearing that trying to say it's an Afrocentric hairstyle. That's not an Afrocentric hairstyle. That is a Blasian hairstyle because you have mixed the Afrocentric braids with the Asian hair texture. So it's a Blasian hairstyle. And then they'll try to tell you, as a woman with type 3 hair, they'll be like, oh, well, you got blonde highlights, so like you're following European beauty standards. Yes, that's correct, because European beauty standards are a part of my beauty standards. European beauty standards are my beauty standards. Black beauty standards are my beauty standards. Hispanic beauty standards are my beauty standards. Asian beauty standards are my beauty standards. Okay, so I incorporate an international beauty standard into my own. So I don't care about people thinking that like I'm following European beauty standards by having blonde highlights. Well, European beauty standards are one of my many beauty standards. So I get to wear the blonde highlights and I don't feel guilty or anything because I'm not going against my internalized beauty standard. Because I am honest with myself and I enjoy, especially if it's a part of my racial background or that's actually in my DNA, so I don't have a problem with that. I don't feel like a fraud or anything because I am very aware of what my internalized beauty standards are, where they came from, and I don't feel any guilt about what I find beautiful. And I've noticed that I find every ethnicity to be beautiful. So yes, Asian beauty standards are my beauty standards. Black beauty standards are my beauty standards. It may not be every aspect of all of those cultures, but I'm just saying I have a fluid beauty standard, which means I see beauty in every phenotype, and I have no problem paying homage to those ethnicities and showing honor to those people. But I've noticed that some Black people are actually racist, and so they don't want to show honor to mixed race people. They don't want to admit that your hair is a part of their beauty standard. They don't want to admit that mixed race beauty standards are their beauty standard. They don't want to admit that European beauty standards are a part of their beauty standard because they're actually racist against those groups of people. And it's like, yeah, your internalized racism, that's not my problem. So I don't have any racism against other ethnicities that's holding me back from embracing their beauty. So I embrace Indian beauty. I'm not racist against Indian people or Black and Indian people. So I don't feel ashamed or anything if I wear Indian hair textured weave. Remember, that term Afrocentric, it means that you are centering or focusing on African beauty standards or maybe your African identity. So I don't follow an Afrocentric beauty standard. So therefore, I don't feel guilt or anything like that if I'm wearing blonde highlights or something like that. But for the women who do have an Afrocentric internalized beauty standard, they can only look African, basically. But then they'll complain about looking African with the shrunken 4C hair and stuff. So then that tells me that your internalized beauty standard is actually not Afrocentric. It could be a multifaceted beauty standard, but a lot of people, they go straight to, oh, it's Eurocentric. Well, no, it's technically not Eurocentric because if it truly was, then she wouldn't have worn her 4C hair in the first place. But a lot of black women will actually gaslight other black women, and they'll say, if you don't look as African as possible with freeform locks, then you're automatically Eurocentric. And so they don't understand having a multifaceted beauty identity. They don't understand multifaceted beauty standards. My internalized beauty standard is not centered around blackness. So I don't have an Afrocentric beauty standard. I have a fluid beauty standard, which means that I promote all forms and all ethnicities of beauty equally when it comes to how I represent myself and like how I look and stuff. So I don't feel that guilt. Like I incorporate European beauty into my beauty. I incorporate Asian beauty into my beauty. So I don't have like this loyalty. I have decentered blackness from my beauty standard is what I'm trying to say. So my beauty standard decenters blackness. So I don't feel obligated to only wear my hair. Well, I mean, I have type 3 hair, but like, let's say I had 4C hair. I wouldn't feel obligated to only wear my hair in 4C or to only wear it in braids and locks and, Afrocentric hairstyles, because I personally have decentered blackness from my beauty standard. But a lot of Hotep women or very pro-black women, they feel like, that's anti-black, or they feel like you're not being pro-black enough. But it's like, I don't have to, first of all, for me personally, I'm not going to cape for women who wouldn't cape for me. So why would I be pro-black when you're not even pro-mixed? You're not pro-mixed. You're not pro-light skin. You're not pro-type 3. So why should I be pro-unambiguous black? That makes no sense. Why would I give my loyalty to women who don't give loyalty to me? Why would I represent the beauty of women who don't want to represent my beauty, if that makes sense? Why would I represent your beauty when you don't even acknowledge my beauty? Okay, so that's number one. That is called entitlement. That is an incredible form of entitlement and narcissism, to expect other people to represent and correctively promote your beauty, but then you won't even admit that you find white women beautiful. So you'll be on these black women empowerment YouTube channels. They'll be talking about how white Hollywood needs to correctively promote them. But then when you ask them, hey, do you think white women are pretty? Then they'll say, no, they're ugly. They age like milk and, they look bad and they're Karens and all this shit. So it's like you're literally racist against those people, yet you want them to turn around and promote your beauty? Do you see the incredible entitlement and narcissism there? Another gaslighting tactic I've noticed from pro-black 4C girls is they'll say, oh, if you manipulate your hair, you'll go bald. If you straighten it, you're going to get it damaged. If you relax it, it's going to be damaged. You're going to go bald. If you put a weave in it, you're going to go bald. If you put braids in it, you're going to go bald. If you comb it to the side, you're going to go bald. So everything you do, you're going to go bald? No, you are going to go bald because you suck at managing your hair. You're bad at doing your type 4 hair. So you're trying to actually project that fear. It's a form of fear mongering. They want to scare other 4C women out of doing any other hairstyle because, like I said, misery loves company. So only the miserable 4C women do this, not the 4C women who love their hair. Because usually the 4C women who love their hair, they just kind of mind their business and they don't care what other women are doing with their hair because they're too busy enjoying their own hair. But the women who are miserable in their hairstyle, they want you to be miserable with your hairstyle. So that's really what it is. Misery loves company. She's miserable with whatever hairstyle she chose, so she wants to gaslight you into not doing any other hairstyle. So she's actually jealous of your fluid beauty. When I use that term fluid beauty, what I mean is you get to look like a different person every single day, depending on how you do your hair. And I am one of these people. Oh, and by the way, another thing is if you have a fluid internalized beauty standard like me, this means that you do not meet your own internalized beauty standard naturally, okay? So there's nothing wrong with that. I am this person myself. I do not naturally meet my own internalized beauty standard. And I have no problem with that. It doesn't mean, oh my God, I'm self-hating because I put on makeup. Oh my God. No, it just means that my internalized beauty standard is, it's a fluid one. So that means that like, depending on my mood, I am going to want to change myself up in terms of beauty. So like around Christmas, I'm going to want to wear more red lipstick. I might have burgundy hair during the fall or something. So that's all it means. Everybody has a different internalized beauty standard in the same way that people have different sexualities. They have different political views. They have a different preference. All it is your internalized preference. But of course, you can't say the P word because that's another trigger word to unambiguous black women. You can't talk about preferences to them. And so because they're not willing to really psychoanalyze themselves, this holds them back from getting what they really want, which is, in some cases, it sounds like they just have a fluid beauty standard, but they can't admit it. And so this is why they just complain online. Like, I hate my 4C hair. Yeah, you hate either caring for it, or you hate the lack of versatility that you have with it, or you hate that it won't grow because you broke it off or whatever. And it's like, they don't understand that beauty is a choice. You get to choose what kind of beauty you want to represent. You get to choose what your internalized beauty standard is. And by the way, I don't necessarily recommend changing your internalized beauty standard. I feel like that's very difficult and requires a lot of self-gaslighting. I've never really seen people do that and have it work long term. I think that the best you can probably do is dissect why you have a particular beauty standard, and then just accept yourself. Accept whatever your desires are in terms of beauty. As long as you can explain to yourself why you have a particular internal beauty standard, then you won't feel the cognitive dissonance. So like the women who make those videos saying they hate their 4C hair, they have cognitive dissonance because on the one hand, they're trying to prove to either themselves or others that they love their 4C hair in its natural state, but then when it comes time to care for it or do all the styles or whatever, they're overwhelmed or they simply lack the skill. Everybody is not good at doing hair. Okay? Everybody's not good at doing makeup and stuff. So you know how people say, you're not good at doing your natural hair because you hate it. You don't say that about makeup. Oh, you're not good at doing makeup because you hate your face. Do you see like the hypocrisy? Do you see how that's kind of gaslighting? It's like, well, no, some women, maybe they don't have the time to do their hair, so then maybe they just straighten it or something. I used to do that. I used to straighten my natural hair, actually. This is back when I was like taking the bus. This is when I didn't have a car, so I didn't want to be outside with a wash and go when it's cold. I didn't want to be standing outside with a wet head and like I have gel on my hair and stuff and it's super cold and freezing. I didn't want to do that. So I just silk pressed it because it matched up with my lifestyle. And so that's something else that women can think about. Like, what kind of lifestyle are you living? What kind of aesthetic do you like? There is no wrong answer. And whatever your internalized beauty standard is, like I said, it's really nobody else's business. But just understand, though, that people will be able to tell what your internal beauty standard is based on how you dress for formal events. Okay, so if you go on a date and your hair is straight, your beauty standard is straight hair. If if every time you have a formal event, your hair is straight and long and a bust down, that means that part of your beauty standard is literally straight, long, bust down wigs. Okay, so just accept that about yourself. Get over it. So I have no problem doing that because I get to meet my internalized beauty standard. Meeting my internalized beauty standard is more important than being Afrocentric, for me personally. So for other women, it could be the opposite. Being Afrocentric and pro-black is more important than meeting your internalized beauty standard. Or it's more important to you than being pretty privileged. So what's most important? Being Afrocentric or meeting your internalized beauty standard or being pretty privileged or the male gaze? Technically there's no wrong answer. Just know that this is more of a decentering men style channel. But there's really no wrong answer. And a lot of women only keep their hair in one style because they're scared of what other black women think. Black women are scared of other black women. Black women are scared of what other black women think of them. So I feel like that's the only reason that some women are natural. It's not because they genuinely want to be natural. So I'm calling out the fake naturals. I'm not calling out the real natural hair women who love their shrunken 4C hair and all that. No, I'm calling out the ones who are saying, I hate my 4C hair. Well, you don't like being natural. That's not your beauty standard. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.